Hey Year 12s. Visual analysis is a key component of VCE language analysis. The task asks you to analyze both written and visual techniques, as both are used in persuading the reader of a particular viewpoint. Just like a sentence contains persuasive techniques that you can pick out and analyze, so do the visuals. Whether they are photographs, cartoons, or something altogether different, images contain elements that you can pull out and discuss. The best way to approach visual analysis is to start by looking at the big picture. What issue is being depicted and what contention is present? How does it link with the written piece? Once you have a clear idea of what the overall effect is, it becomes much easier to pick out the elements that contribute to it. Before we look at an example of this analysis in practice, let's look at some of the elements you might consider while analyzing a visual. In this video, we will cover the basics of each visual technique, but if you want more information, check out the individual pages and videos on each technique. Alright, the main visual techniques to consider include the following. Cropping. This means how the visual has been cut or created to include and exclude different things. Your analysis should consider why certain things aren't included, such as a person's face. Size. Don't just consider how big the whole visual is, but how big or small individual things within the image are. Often, certain objects or people are given disproportionate size in a cartoon to create a particular effect. Light, shading. This refers to where the light or dark is within an image. This can mean a range of things, but is often a good way to distinguish good from bad. People. This includes analysing who is in an image and what you can see about them. Facial expressions, body language, exaggerated features, dialogue, and so on. Positioning. This means considering where things are in the visual and why. If something is placed right in the middle of a visual, there is usually a reason, as it is at odds with your average advertisement and automatically becomes the focal point of the visual. Text. Don't forget to analyse any text that might come up inside the visual, such as dialogue in speech bubbles or narration. Let's take a look at how to put this visual analysis into practice. Take a look at the following visual, which was used as part of an RSPCA campaign a few years ago aimed at stopping the sale of mass-bred puppies by pet stores and online. First, let's look at the overall effect. The writer is trying to communicate that puppy factories are cruel in their exploitation of dogs and should be shut down. On top of that, they have an aim to encourage readers to not just agree with them, but take action, as evidenced by the suggested link at the bottom of the visual. Now let's consider the format. Obviously, in this case, a mix between a photograph and stylized text that provides some context. Next, let's break the piece up into the individual techniques that it puts forward. Positioning. The dog is the immediate focal point, being in the center of the image. Furthermore, the signs of neglect are so obvious on the dog in its posture and distended stomach that it evokes an emotional response from the reader. Sympathy is elicited for the dog through the combination of its appearance and its positioning behind dirty wire which has been pulled back, as if it lives in this hidden, dark cage all the time until the RSPCA came to expose its plight. Text. Employee of the month. In this case, the text is at odds with the visual and the effect is created in that juxtaposition. The idea of an employee of the month is celebratory and positive, whereas the image shows a dog that is clearly unhealthy and neglected, both negative ideas. This contrast leads the reader to a feeling of incredulity and perhaps disgust that anyone would accept, let alone endorse, the condition of the dog, as is being done by the suggestion that the puppy factory operator would consider this dog a good employee. This creates a blame group. The reader is angry at the selfishness of a person who would overbreed a dog for financial gain at the animal's expense. Text. RSPCA adds authority to the visual. This organisation is widely recognised as a significant body in animal welfare. Text link. closepuppyfactories.org forms a call to action where the writer takes the reader's anger and directs it into fulfilling the aim of the piece. Shadow lighting. The spotlight on the dog makes it appear as if a torch is being shone in its face. This suggests to the reader that this is an issue that puppy factories want to keep the public in the dark about. They are trying to hide the ugly truth while the RSPCA is attempting to expose it. This is further emphasised by the pulled back wire. The combined effect served to further alienate readers from the factory owners who are trying to hide their business and align them with the RSPCA, who are working to break into facilities and rescue hurt dogs like this one. Small visual components. The cogs next to the site name down the bottom are reminiscent of the issue at hand. It reminds the reader of a factory. This idea forms another juxtaposition in that puppies are associated with friendly, cute fluffiness, while factories remind readers of mechanized, cold, heartless, profit-focused work. This sharp contrast is used to evoke sympathy for the puppies being churned out of the factory for profit. Grayscale and concrete background. The visual is almost exclusively grey, black, and white, which gives it a rather drab negative vibe. The enclosure for the dog is by no means appropriate and resonates with the reader's sympathy in how it contrasts with how the reader would treat their own dog. This example shows you how you can start broad and then pull the visuals apart and take a look at the individual elements. Make sure when writing your essay that you avoid describing the visual at all. If you identify something from within the visual, don't move on without explaining why it is there and how it is persuasive. Thanks for watching and happy studying.